Judicial review, judges shouldn't have to be stuck for life. They should be able to, serve their time within their contract or whenever they signed up, just to be fair, because like president, he stays 4 years or 8, just depends. So yeah, I really feel that is unfair because even the president doesn't have to get stuck for life. If you're old and you're still doing the same job.
Yeah, I think there should be an age limit. And you have someone in there that's 85 that was around in the 20s and 30s when life was different, and they still have those ideals locked. Still in charge now. It kind of prohibits things from moving. Yeah, for that kind of power, I'd say election needs to happen. That's just, again, way too much power. So I think that everything that has a beginning should have an end.
I believe they should have term limits. Only because I think it allows the system to work as it's designed by creating a diversified opinion and really being representative of the population, the voting population. If you get persons in there who can serve out a life term, then their ideology and viewpoints, they become stale and sometimes outdated, and by allowing them us to re-elect justices, I think it creates and it keeps the opinions of the judicial system fresh and relevant, which is the purpose of the high court. No, I don't. I think the retirement comes based on their inability to be open-minded and to be able to make decisions that are relevant and representative of the democratic society. So no, I don't think it should be barred by age.
I think everything should have limits. If you don't have limits, then you don't get new blood. Just like at the college area, you got to get rid of some old instructors like me and bring in some new ones. You got to have new blood all the time. You guys, all you young people have a lot different way of communicating than we do. We want to put up a poster. You guys want to go on Facebook. We want to call. You want to text. So we got to keep up with the times, and that's one way to keep up with the times. I think they could be appointed by the sitting president, but they probably should be something like an 8-year. No, it's hard to say. There might be some type of testing facility that's like, okay, you've slept through most of these proceedings. You obviously need to go home. If you're not, what's a good word? If you're not cognizant, involved, then you need to go away.
I think they should have term limits, but are those term limits going to be dictated by president, by vote?
You tell us.
By Congress?
How do you think they should be dictated?
I think they should probably be dictated by vote.
By vote.
Just as we vote our sheriffs in our counties. We vote our judges. I would think it's the same thing. But they'd have to go through a set criteria, and once they meet that criteria, then that's what we base this country on anyways, right? Is our voting system. We trust it whether we like it or not, or we actually vote or not. So I don't think the life term, that's giving one person too much power over too long of a time, and then there's no really check and balance of that person. Probably, I guess the best time to do it is when we have presidential elections. That's when most people vote anyway. Yeah, I would think so. I guess it would be the same thing as should people get to a certain age, do we take their driver's license away? What's the criteria for that?
Okay.
If there was a set criteria, and they knew that going in, yeah. If you can't tie your shoes, then maybe you shouldn't be a judge.
Good afternoon, this is Karen reporting live from Washington, D.C., just outside of the courthouse, where the U.S. Supreme Court judges are currently reviewing a monumental case in the making. A resident of Maryland, where gay marriage has been made legal by popular vote since November's Prop ballot, is suing his employer, the state of Delaware, for not recognizing him and his husband's marriage and their right to spousal insurance benefits. Led by Chief Justice Jeff, each judge will present their opinions, which are based on past rulings, legal theory, and constitutional law. No staff, clerk, or marshal is allowed inside.
ruling against a federal recognition of same-sex marriage based on the Defense of Marriage Act. Section 3 defines marriage as the legal union of one man and one woman. In determining the meaning of any act of Congress or of any ruling or regulation or interpretation of the various administrative bureaus and agencies of the United States, the word marriage means only a legal union between one man and one woman as husband and wife. And the word spouse refers only to a person of the opposite sex who is a husband or a wife.
Is the Defense of Marriage Act even constitutional? Is there a legitimate reason to allow the state the right to deny the fundamental rights by a group of people on the basis of their sexual orientation? Although the Constitution does not specifically enumerate marriage as a fundamental right, we all would agree that people have the fundamental right to privacy and the fundamental right to have a family life, not to mention the freedom of religion. Judge Janiska concur with me.
I agree, Scott. The full faith and credit clause provide that the various states must recognize legislative acts, public records, and judicial decisions of other states within the United States. Combined with the Supremacy Clause, because it provides that the Constitution and the laws of the United States will be the supreme law of the land. The federal Constitution and federal law trump state laws. With that, there is no reason why we shouldn't vote yes on a federal recognition of same-sex marriage. There shouldn't be separate civil and religious function of marriage. Marriage is not just a religious institution. It has a secular value and meaning. Whether you like it or not, all couples have to register their marriage with the government. They pay joint taxes to the U.S. government, and they should have the same federal rights, privileges, responsibilities, and protections that have been associated with marriage. Any state refusal to allow same-sex couples to enter into a civil marriage is unconstitutional.
Based on the 14th Amendment, equal protection based on sexual orientation is regarded with low scrutiny, where discrimination based on religion is given strict scrutiny. Unless there's a legitimate reason to impose laws denying the Equal Protection Clause, it is our job to make sure that there is no disproportionate effect on one group over the other. Is there even a compelling reason to deny same-sex marriage other than the fact that it is condemned by people with Christian morals? There needs to be a clear separation between the church and the state.
I agree with the chief. This form of discrimination is necessary to maintain the peace and the safety of, and to preserve the values of the American family. Allowing these two men to get married is simply unconstitutional. Must I remind you that the Defense of Marriage Act of 1997 was passed by both houses in Congress and by a large majority? Can someone please tell me how that is not a representation of the people? This is what the people want. Sexual orientation is given low scrutiny. It's a non-suspect class. Since existence, marriage has been between a man and a woman. And should and will remain that way. My vote is no.
I, along with the majority of this country that we represent, believe when it says that marriage is a sacred commitment, it is meant to be between a man and a woman. If we allow this kind of thing to be accepted, who knows what will happen next?
Humans marrying their pets, that's what's next. Imagine what will stem from this if we say it's acceptable for a man to marry another man and call it marriage. Soon, pedophiles will want the right to marry their victims. The majority of the people believe that same-sex marriage is a sinful, immoral action, and that's why they don't want their children raised in a country where it's accepted. We interpret the law, and if the majority of the people are against homosexuals getting married, then we are not being biased.
Excuse me, before Loving v. Virginia, the defense used the same illogical reason and argued that marriage has always been between two people of the same race. I'm greatly disappointed that in 1967 the court had more courage to do the right thing. Public opinion has shown there is a gradual increase of Americans favoring same-sex marriage in the United States. In addition, same-sex marriage is legal in the District of Columbia. Are you keeping up, Chief? Look, the Chief of Justice who couldn't even stay awake to finish the deliberation. Why should he be allowed to have such a big impact on this country's
opinion in our final report, but the majority vote is against a federal recognition of same-sex marriage. That is our final ruling.
And there you have it, folks. After hours of deliberation, each justice was left to decide for him or herself, and the U.S. Supreme Court judges have come to a 4-3 decision naming the state's non-recognition of same-sex marriage as constitutional. At this point, the ruling is forever a part of constitutional law. From outside of the courthouse, this is Karen, reporting for Political Science News. Now I have some questions for the audience. What is your opinion? Please keep in mind these justices were appointed by our elected presidents and confirmed by the majority of the Senate we elected. Although presidential and congressional terms are limited, The judiciary branch possesses an unlimited life tenure once appointed. Likewise, should Supreme Court justices have term limits or be forced to retire at a certain age? Should they be voted in or appointed? And finally, what are your thoughts on judicial review?
Recognition of same-sex marriage based on the... I sound like Sean Connery.
Should like stand up. I'm like,
Do it.
I'm like in between you.
Hold me back. Hold me back.
The majority of the people believe that the same-sex marriage. Just kidding.
Just say that's bull.
That's bull. Okay, I'll say that's bull.
That's some bull. I'm just kidding.
That's not
That's
right.
bull. I'll just say that. You might be able to
Poppycock. Person of the opposite sex who is a husband or a wife.
You sound like Adam Sandler.
I can't. That's my whole person voice. That's all I do.
By a group of people.
We have to get this.
Okay, come on.
Why is it so
It's my glasses.
You should find